Garcia.
My name is Rana.
We've been married for 40 years this September.
My name is Toby Casas, and this is my beautiful wife, Vanessa. How many years have we been married again? 12 years.
Going on.
Going on 12 years.
In July.
Hi, my name is Angel Pacheco, and I have been married with my wife, Sarah Pacheco, for 33 years.
My name is Everett Garza. This is my wife, Letty, and we have been together for coming up on 34 years.
I'm Ryan Calhoun.
I'm Amber Calhoun.
And we've been married for 25 years.
Almost 25.
Yeah, that's right. Almost 25. We got married in 2000 so that I can easily count forward to how many years we were married.
Well, we met through a mutual friend. She invited me over to her house to give her a home perm. And halfway through the processing of her hair, she said, I'm going to need some hot rollers to finish this up. So I have a friend that has a lot of sisters, and he's going to bring over some hot rollers. Doorbell rang, and there was Aurelio.
We met at Evangel University. Each year for freshman orientation, they do a minor league baseball team, baseball game.
Yeah.
And we met at the stadium for quick little conversations.
Yeah.
And then we met up afterwards with a bunch of friends at the Chili's? Cheddar's.
Well, we met through family. He was a friend of our families. And that's how we met. We were very young at the time.
We grew up in the same church, went to the same school. We actually were college students, and I came to visit, right? Yeah, I came to visit during a youth night, and then that's when it kind of happened. I looked at her, and gosh, the sparkle in the eyes, the pitter patter went, in my heart, and I says, you know what? Why can't you and I? You and I.
So I think we have two different stories for how we met. We met at a dance in high school at Wapato. It was a homecoming, I believe it was. Two different dates, and we just met from a mutual friend. And I felt something when we met. I don't think he did at the time, because he doesn't remember meeting at that point. But then, how did we meet?
Well, I thought we met working at the Mercy Sixplex.
Which I got him the job.
She got me the job.
We were just trying to find ways to do things for each other that didn't cost so much money because we were broke college students.
Because we were really young, so at that time I didn't have no car, I didn't have no license, so we were walking for our dates. We were walking a couple blocks from her house to the general store to buy some burritos. I still remember. In those days, they have a super special 2 beef burritos and a small pop for 88 cents.
Very inexpensive date.
Dating, we spent a lot of time together. And back then, when we started dating, there weren't cell phones. So it was a lot of phone calls.
Okay, we're not that old. There were cell phones. We just didn't have
We didn't have cell phones.
Yes.
And there were a lot of gifts. We did a lot of gifts, and we wrote a lot of letters to each other.
Gifts, notes, letters.
Lots of music.
Lots of music, lots of...
The whole tape thing happened,
Oh yeah, mixtapes.
Mixtapes.
Yeah.
There were some mixtapes
There were a lot of mixtapes happening. So I can lay down a pretty good mixtape.
That's a funny question. We take time to focus on each other, and we like to spend time with each other doing things we like. Like, for example,
going camping.
Last minute.
And yes.
Weekend getaways.
Well, I would say kiss, and more kiss, right? That's what I would say, because quite honestly, look, you got to keep that flame going. Even if it's something simple, we kiss when our goodbye to go to work. We kiss when we see each other after work. Yeah. And those things it might be small and insignificant, but it's huge because it's showing affection that's still there and will always be there.
Oh goodness.
There's
lots of stuff.
Yeah, you got you're always trying to do things. I think we just try to prioritize our time together.
Mm-hmm. Something I enjoy is just celebrating the ordinary. Our lives are basically filled with ordinary days and ordinary moments. So sweet things like making his favorite dish, which is tuna noodle casserole. That's his favorite, so making that.
I know that when we had kids, it was even more of a focus. It was even more important for us to model a good marriage. So that we started even to grow tighter together, more compassionate to one another even grew, because we knew that the first example of marriage that my children were going to see was from my wife and I. So it was important for us to show that. So having said that, we weren't going to let having kids get in the way of what we had.
I think in all of it, we had hardships, we had loss of kids, we had infertility issues, and I think it was just, we constantly were together. We didn't grow apart during those times. And again, I think, I wish I could say it was intentional, but I think it really was by the grace of God that we are where we are today.
So one thing that, we experienced was our first 7-8 years of our marriage, we could not conceive, and we really struggled because we really badly, wanted to have a family. We sought out God, and we really truly went deep into prayer and really uplifting each other up in those dark times, because it was difficult. It was very difficult, not understanding why, but also trusting in God, that God had us, in this plan. And so that was the big thing for us during that time, that we really came together. We prayed a lot. We would talk a lot. We would, share each other's feelings about what we really wanted in life. And we also came to term with understanding that if this wasn't going to be for us, then we were okay with that, and that was really difficult, like I said, but, God just always came through for us. And so that was the pinnacle of it all.
Since we started dating, when we got married, God has been the center of our marriage and our family, especially like when we went through really difficult times, like right now that I'm going through cancer. When I was diagnosed, the doctor told me it was really hard, but with the support of my wife and my family, I'm going through, and it's hard, it's really difficult, but right there is where I'm proving my faith. And I know that God has everything in control. And I try to continue my normal life, praising God, serving the Lord, and spending quality time with my family, and especially my wife.
Yeah, knowing our faith will get us through.
The Bible says that husbands are to treat their wives just as Jesus treated the church. Jesus sacrificed himself. And so in that sacrifice, you give yourself totally and completely into that relationship, which is what Jesus did. He gave his life. And so essentially, we're giving our lives. And that involves giving ourselves in every aspect, making sure that in the marriage that we're putting our wives and our kids and our families first.
When you come into a marriage, there's nobody will ever know you as much as, your spouse. And so just trusting him with all of me and knowing that he's my closest friend, and no matter what, I know that he loves me and that he'll be there for me. And so I think just friendship is so important, and always learning more about each other, because we're also constantly changing. And so something that I thought, back then may not be now. And so you're always changing. And so just always learning about each other.
To put God first in your marriage and your family. And in my case, to get a mentor, get a role model. Through the years, I improved being a husband, as a friend, and a father. So always I try to improve myself.
Find something in common that you have with your spouse. Cling to that and let nothing get in the way of that. And kiss, and more kiss.
Oh, love it.
Hey. Come on, is that not an awesome session just right there, right? Well, we are stoked to have Andrew and Isabel back up here again for a Q&A session. Thanks so much, you guys, for sending in these questions. You can keep sending them in. We'll get to as many as we can here over the next few moments here. But Andrew and Isabel, are you guys ready? We're going to fire away.
Come on.
Some questions.
Thanks for having him back.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
I mean, thank you.
There you go. All right. So here's first question. All right. First baby is on the way. So that's awesome. What advice would you give us for really keeping on the same page and not just surviving as a married couple, but thriving as a married couple? So first baby is on the way. Wisdom for how to prioritize marriage. Maybe just as you're stepping in to have kids, but maybe even just have kids as well. So how do we keep marriages thriving when we've got kids on the way? Any principles you would encourage with?
Do what you love doing and do it now while you remember what that is. And so do that personally, do that together, and set habits right here, right now, before you don't have time to do that any longer. And then on the other side of having a baby, you'll remember who you are, what you love together as well as individually. And then my second piece of advice maybe would be, don't do life alone. Don't do marriage alone, but certainly don't do family alone. Yes. And so whoever is in a similar stage of life as you, sometimes it gets busy and we isolate, but I would encourage you to congregate and get close to those people that are right where you are, and then the people that are a little bit ahead of you, and glean as much wisdom as you can from them. Ask a million bazillion questions, not just on nappy brands, diaper brands, as you guys say in America, but also on those pieces. What does it look like, the early days, the early months?
Yeah.
Yes.
So with babies, I would say, babies are great, but don't worship them. We worship God. Yes, everybody. So no, let me explain that to you. I hear some people, they have the baby and their life changes like, we can't go out because of the baby. And the couples hermit and you never see them again. And they, suddenly the child graduates and, finally we've seen them. You've homeschooled them for 18 years and never let them out. So I would really say to you that, a child is a wonderful thing, but you've still got a life. Take the child with you. We used to fly to the United States. I think we did it one time. We had 4 children under the age of 8 years old, and we took them on an 11 and a half hour flight. That's because this woman was a genius and she had the bag packed, and like every half hour had a section in the bag of what would be for the kids. I remember delving in one time going, give them this. He went, no, that's in 20 minutes time. Okay. So what I would say to you is, children are such a blessing, but make them part of your life. Don't build your whole life around the children. I'm not saying that everyone should do this, but our first boy, when he was born, we had him out of the room within 5 weeks. Now, he was in the room next door. Our bedroom door was wide open. His bedroom door was wide open. But we didn't live in the age of where there was CCTV in the ceiling, okay? And there was like monitors all over the place and, like Mission Impossible, me hanging over the top of his bed. But he survived. And so I would just encourage you, a baby is brilliant. A baby is going to bring change, but don't. And you're going to have to change, yes, but don't make a child like some sort of disability in life that you can never do anything for the next 12 years, okay? Get on with your life, bring the child with you. They're going to survive and they're going to thrive.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I think would be good too is we tried to get just creative in how we did dates and spent time together when we had young kids or when they were first born. For instance, when the kids went to bed, we would have living room dates. And so we wouldn't be gone. We wouldn't leave, obviously, because they were just born. But we would just get creative and say, we're going to have a living room date right now. And we'd have food or play games, whatever it might be, just in the living room right there. So, there's some wisdom for a first child on the way. Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, next question.
So we have this question. It's referring to session 1 when you were talking about getting away or doing a weekly withdrawal.
Right.
And so they said, can you elaborate more on what that might look like? A weekly withdrawal.
For us, we try to keep one day a week as our Sabbath, like off. And it starts the night before. Some people try and begin morning off and just try and go for the best part of that day. For us, it started the night before. I think it's a biblical pattern too. But you can also get a little bit organized before it starts to make sure that as it starts, it is smooth. So as much organization as you can pre-Sabbath helps Sabbath happen really well.
Yeah. So our kids, we were taking a Friday off at that time. And so it used to be that when we were living in Belfast, I could walk home from my church building to the house, and I would pass a grocery store, and we didn't have a lot of money, so I was always looking for, the meat or anything that had the yellow label on it that was like cheap. Does anyone else know what I'm talking about? And even if I didn't want it, we'd put it in the freezer, and we ate everything except tuna noodle casserole. Where is that bro? He needs to get out more often. Things never got that bad, But our kids used to say this. They used to say this, oh, Thursday night's the new Friday night. We used to do that a lot, of where we were just like, make sure even the night before that I was off, and then the next day was a day off. So we would get time with the kids, which was important as well. But I'm going to say this as parents, there's something about when the children are younger, establishing bedtime and actually sticking to that. I mean, they're up again. You will torture yourself. You're making a rod to beat your back. There needs to be something. You're going to sleep. And if you're not sleeping, you're staying here. Remember I said earlier on, buy a lock for your door? Maybe buy a lock for their door. I don't know. Maybe that's not PC nowadays. But anyway, but I'm serious. You because you got to preserve your time, and that's part of the weekly withdrawal. But it's part of your daily sanity. And I'm going to throw this out, it's maybe not be popular, but they're coming into bed tonight with us. Oh, they snuck in again. There's something of where you got to fight for your own room, for your own intimacy, and for your own bed. It might not be popular, but seriously, it will help your marriage, and it'll make life a lot better.
Good. Yeah. Kara, I think another question.
Yes. So communication is huge in a marriage. Do you guys have any tips on communication?
Our oldest is married, and when they went to premarital counseling, they came back with this tip, and I thought, whoa, this is good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much does this matter to you? That is a question to be posed, where there might be a difference in priority or outcome. And then if it gets closer to 10, then I'm going to lean in and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to find a time and a way in which to engage. So picking a good time, but also realizing how important is this issue that you bring into me. I don't want to be nagging. I just want to be bringing this in a wholesome, happy way. And if I'm telling you this is an 8 out of 10, then you're going to want to lean in and find a way to have a healthy conversation about it.
Definitely. I think for Isabel, I've discovered with Isabel, one of the key things for her is she wants to be heard. And it's really important that she's heard. Where I thought, no, she wants this to be fixed. So I'll cut in early on thinking, oh, I know what you're talking about. Solution, boom. Let's have an early lunch. Hey. And that's not really it. She probably knows the solution anyway because she's smarter than me. What she's trying to do is what I had to learn earlier on was she wants to be heard. And actually this conversation is maybe more important than the solution, especially when it's about me, okay? Because I'll quickly go, okay, I'll change, I'm sorry. No, she wants to be heard, and I need to listen in there and validate thoughts and feelings. I hear, what are you saying? And then I'm hearing what you're not saying. And a good listener as well will pick up, won't have to ask, is this a 3 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? If she's crying, it's 9 out of 10. All right? Don't ask that question, buddy. All right? So.
But it can be like a non-inflammatory way, right? Before it gets to that emotion, and as you maybe feel the emotion building or the urgency building, just go like, hey, here's a number. It's pretty neutral ground, and hopefully you can lean in before.
Yeah, but the thing is as well, in communication, You know well in this part of the world, it's really smart in forested areas to try and have a fire path or a breaker, so that when the fire does come, and it does come, it doesn't keep coming all the way. Sometimes call a fire path, have a break in between, and sometimes we've just had to look at each other. We can't resolve it. Let's have a fire path and go, okay, we'll revisit this. But guys, don't give up after 2 minutes. Oh, this is getting a little intense. No, it's just, sometimes you got to stay with it, but there's times where you just go, hey, nobody's winning in this communication, and this communication's now becoming conflict. Let's revisit this later.
Good. How can we break kind of a phone scrolling addiction that tends to get in the way of our time together? And so are there any principles that you guys have encouraged, or maybe in your own life, marriage, family, the whole phone thing and how it can impact relationship and communication? Any thoughts or ideas on that?
Carrie.
Isabel's throwing it to you, Carrie.
Oh, man. What would you say?
Again, Apple has a great device. It's called Screen Time. I mean, have a look at it, and you'll probably be in shock at how much you're on your phone. I mean, I know that for myself, definitely as a pastor, a phone is a lot of my job, but sometimes then it becomes a lot of my life. So it's not just, I'm using that 8 hours a day or whatever. It invades the family time. And it's like today, we don't have teenagers now, we have screenagers. And they're just like, it's the death doom of scrolling. They're just going all the time. There's certain apps that you just need to cancel. And I would say go on a digital fast. So we start our church off every year, 21 days of prayer and fasting. And we don't expect everyone to go without food for 21 days, although some people incorporate that into their fast. But a lot of it is a digital fast. Yeah. And people, the relief that they get from that, so they delete the apps, the social media apps from their phone. For me, it's not all social media. I'm a news addict, so I'm constantly like checking on the news. And you gotta, sometimes as well, some nights we'll just go, we're gonna set the phones over here and walk away and be apart from them.
Yeah, I think even too, one idea is, something I've done that I feel good about is I just simply don't have my phone with me in the home all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have it with me. I set it in our electrical closet. Now I swing in, I check it, are there text messages, whatever, but I don't have it with me in my home all the time. And I think maybe even a step like that might be a step in the right direction. Just I'm okay not having it with me.
Yeah, Jeff's dad will call. He's like, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of Jeff. Can you get a hold of him? Because he does. He's very disciplined in putting his phone away, which I appreciate.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. How about this one? Can you address political differences in a marriage? And so let's say they got some difference on political. Any encouragement or wisdom you could give to that?
Yeah, definitely. One of you should sleep on the right and the other one should sleep on the left. And let's see who crosses the line first.
Well.
Let's see how divided you really are. Oh, actually, we got a lot in common. No, it's a very real thing. I put it like this here. The way, I would know pastors would go, oh, you got to vote right. You got to, hey, whoa. We come from Europe. We're not all left. We're not all right. All I would say is the fact that you can think is a really smart thing. And you should respect that in the other person. Now, if it becomes militant, that's not good, all right? And there's nobody has the majority on God, and God doesn't support one political party, and this is really important that we understand this, everybody. I'm going to be preaching on this next week at the men's conference that's happening here in the Northwest. The angel of the Lord comes down, stands in front of Joshua, and Joshua's like, whoa, dude, who are you? Are you for us or are you for your enemies? And he goes, I'm for me. God is way bigger than any political divide. And I would say, enjoy the thought that you can think really well, okay? Enjoy the debate, but don't let it divide your marriage. It's okay that you think different on different things, but do not let it divide your marriage.
100% agree. By the way, to the person that asked, our electrical closet is like our storage closet, okay? So someone, what's an electrical closet? That was the question they just texted in, so thank you very much. It's our storage closet,
Oh my goodness.
okay? It's where we put our phones and that type of stuff.
It's a highly charged
I got you right
question.
here. It came through. It came through right here. Like, electrical closet, question mark?
Good question.
Yes, very good question.
Here's another question. How do you handle in-laws? Like if they're not being respectful of your time and your relationship, how do you handle that?
Well, Andrew picked in-laws that couldn't speak his language, so it's going really, really, really well. They speak French, and that's how it's been for the past 30 years.
I couldn't argue with them.
I think respect and boundaries are probably two of the words that come to mind. Respect who they are, why they think, what they think, listen carefully, get to know them really well, and think the best of them that you possibly can. And once you've done that, maybe set some boundaries in place, because you have gone from being in an extended family to becoming a covenant relationship,
Yes.
and you're most important to one another. So I know there's cultural nuances and different people groups expecting different things. These are great conversations to have pre-marriage, but there's still conversations to be had during marriage. And as children come, what's valuable, what's actually wise and not just honoring. Honoring is great, but sometimes a 3-day vacation is better than a 13-day vacation, because you may not be able to stay honoring for 13 days, but you might be able to just do it for 2 nights and 3 days. So just some wisdom in there, respect boundaries.
Yeah, definitely. I would say with in-laws, you're always trying to play the long game. It's really important. And as a couple, you got to think, what hill are we going to die on? And is this hill worth dying on? And sometimes it's a temporary thing. Sometimes it's a cultural thing. Sometimes people are just in your face, and that's different. And you're going to have to get wisdom. You're going to have to get a strategy. And you're going to have to think about, do I talk to my father-in-law by himself and just take him out and talk to him about that? Or do we as a couple need to sit down with them and just go, hey, can we just explore this for a moment? And sometimes it's about how you do that. It's like any conflict. Do you rush in and go like that? Don't fight fire with fire. Sometimes putting water on it is going to be a lot quicker. Avoidance is not always the best solution. It's not always the best solution, but running in is not. So you just need wisdom. You need tact. I would say to young couples that are going to get married, it's planning a wedding is like a fractious time, and the bride has a dream, and the bride's mother has a dream, and everyone has a dream, and it's becoming a nightmare. But you're going to need childminders. So don't fall out with your in-laws. I mean, you are going to need people in the future to take care of your kids. You just so be very careful. Think the long game, and inheritance too. You got to think about inheritance.
All right, couple. So quick one is, what accent do your kids have? That's the quick one.
What?
And then the other question is, how can we bring Jesus into our relationship?
Okay.
And so kind of accent for the kids, and then how can we bring Jesus into our relationship?
Yeah. Oh, the kids are like us. They talk like God. No, the kids, it's very interesting. They all moved here. They were 18, 16, 12, and 10 when they moved to the United States. The 18-year-old, 16-year-old, they've never lost their accent. They still got a great Irish accent. But our daughter, who was 12 when she came, she can turn them all on. So when she's in America with her friends, she can put an American on. But then when she's back in Belfast, she puts a Northern Ireland accent on. But now she's living in London. Oh. And she doesn't go to the theater, she goes to the theater. The theater. So it's a little bit, and here's the interesting thing, they actually have 4 passports. So they've got Irish passport, they've got a British passport, a French passport, and now an American passport. Mm-hmm. So they're like Jason Bourne. They just get up every morning and go, what was the second question? You probably.
How can you bring Jesus into your relationship? And so a married couple that wants to be Christ-centered, what are some practical things they can do to have Jesus in their relationship and in their marriage?
Sometimes, maybe for us more in the realm of ministry, I'd rather walk the walk than talk the talk when it comes to the conversations inside our house. I'd rather they saw Jesus and heard me talking about Jesus, even though I perfectly will if I get half a chance. But I think for our children, modeling who Jesus is and what he does actually means a lot more than hearing yet another sermon from either of us.
Yeah. Let me answer the question, even with us as a couple. Isabel said she's number 1 in the Enneagram, and I'm number 7. We're different on love languages and all of that. Even how we do devotion and how we seek God is different. So I would say don't put your spiritual practices on your partner. And because that really works for you and you get such a buzz out of it, and they don't, doesn't make them unspiritual. We each have our different ways of seeking and walking with God. And my walk with God is different from Isabel's walk with God. Our friends, Paul and Priscilla, and you got to meet them sometime, they're hilarious. He said, Priscilla used to invite me to pray with her. He said, I was bored after 5 minutes. She said she would talk and talk and talk to God. And I would go, Lord, heal him. And she would go, Lord, this is how I want you to heal him. And she would go on for 5 minutes. And he said, I ended up walking away, making a cup of tea. She lost me after 2 minutes. And yet he's deeply spiritual. He's a deeply spiritual man. But they did pray together, but they had to learn how to pray together and how to do devotions together. So bring your Jesus walk in and walk together with Jesus.
I have a couple questions that are similar. One is basically, we're in a really tough season. So how can we get through this? Do you have any tips on that? And then how do you get the flame back in the marriage? So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, so for those in a tough season right now, what would be your encouragement to them?
I'm super proud of you that you sent that question in.
Well done.
Because step number 1 is not keeping this a secret and just sharing it and seeking help. This is a room full of people that love you and want the best for you. And sometimes an ugly truth is better than a pretty lie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So being honest about where we're at rather than putting a facade, whether it's in front of other people or even in front of each other. So I'll be super quick, but my grandparents, born in the early 1900s, isn't that crazy? Both went to war, Second World War. We just celebrated 80 years, particularly in Europe, VE Day yesterday. And so my grandpa was taken prisoner by the Germans. And after he was taken to Germany, my grandma decided to join the French resistance. And so they were both trying their very best to keep France what it was at the time. And long story short, as the world looked like it was ending, my grandma returned from the war. So did my granddad, not knowing what had happened during these crucial years. And all was well for a few months until my grandpa said to my grandma, you're not really the person I left in 1939. What's happened? And she said, well, funny, you should ask. I had a baby. And he said, boy, girl, where is she? In a nunnery in Paris right now. And so they didn't know whether one would return, whether both would return, and kept that a secret for a number of years. And so he said, where is she? We're going to go and pick her up. And so went, picked up the person who was to become my aunt. But for years and years, even after this, which was a beautiful moment, they did not talk of it. And the years were pretty acrimonious, resentful, until they both became Christians, which was a beautiful moment. Both sought forgiveness, and both got their hearts changed towards each other. But it all started with a moment in which they said, this is not how we should live, and we need Jesus right in the heart of it. And so thank you for opening up. My simple advice would be find someone, a godly person, possibly a therapist, a counselor, one of your pastors, trusted small group leaders, whoever they are, to speak to, and then invite God in, because with him on board, everything can change. Yeah.
Yeah, anything to add to in a tough season right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, as Isabel said, first of all, just recognizing it is just like so important. Can I just say to everybody, you are so smart being here tonight.
Yes.
You know, we got cars and we bring them in for services and give them oil changes. You know, we go to the gym and we do different things in life because we're trying to look after stuff. And yet so many people don't come to a marriage conference. So, you know, give yourself a round of applause, everyone. You're here, you're investing in your marriage, but it can be like really tough. It can be really tough. And so I would say, one, you need personal support. So if you're not getting that support from your spouse at this moment in time, you need confidentially the right guys or the right girls around you and say, this is rough, this is tough. Don't tell everybody else, but I'm just telling you, would you support me in prayer? Would you support me in fun as well? Because I need some fun in my life, but I need to know that someone's got my back. The thing is too that some of couples are just going, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Can I encourage you with this? Like, if you are both willing, and it takes two willing partners, go to therapy, spend the money, get the loan, whatever you've got to do. This is the most important thing that you have in your life. Treat this as serious. It can be fixed. You know why? Because life is tough. Right. Life is really tough. And don't be hard on one another, because sometimes you don't realize just all what you've been through with life, with finances, with deadlines, with craziness in our world, with children, with sickness, with all of that stuff. You're under a tremendous amount of pressure. We spiral out sometimes and give each other a break. But be honest about it, but get to fixing it very quick.
You know, something I've heard Ray is the pastor of Bayside. He says, you've got to keep yourself encouraged.
Yes.
I've heard him say that before. And I think it's so easy. We can tend to look at everybody else, everybody's marriage, and think they all have a perfect marriage.
Right.
You know, you joked about that in your video that you sent to us, you know, Isabel. It's like, you know, everybody goes through seasons. There's the mountaintops, there's the valleys, and just knowing everybody else doesn't have a perfect marriage. We're all trying to be the couple, the spouses that God wants us to be. And keep yourself encouraged that there are good days on the horizon.
Yeah.
You know, stay in it. Don't give up.
Right.
You know, keep praying, keep working at it. And then, again, better days are soon to come.
Yeah.
Amen?
Yeah,
Amen.
definitely.
All right, next question here is wisdom for if, say, one of the spouses tends to really prioritize work. And how can I just lovingly express, I want to spend time together. You talk about priorities, if maybe all about work and going to the gym and doing those things. How can you kind of lovingly try to kind of just get on the same page as a married couple if one is more kind of working, gym, and you want to kind of spend more time together? How would you kind of lovingly just navigate that as a couple?
Yeah, so recently we've been going through the book of Acts, and we're preaching from Acts chapter 19. It was Paul at Ephesus, and a guy called Demetrius is going crazy. Why? Because he makes little goddesses for a woman called Artemis. And he's just going, my goodness, everyone's becoming a Christian and my business is going down and I'm selling idols. And you know what? I hate this. And he started a riot because of it. And I said to our church, you know, we look back on that and just go, oh, that's so, you know, sort of primeval and primitive in that way of like, oh, you look back on it and go, these people actually worship idols. Who would worship an idol? California is full of idols. 2,000 years on, we're full of idols. People will go, and you know what? In those old days, they used to sacrifice their kids to idols. Who would ever do that? California, we sacrifice our kids for idols. Oh, not physically, but we get so hard after profit, after business, after jobs, after careers, that we throw our kids on the altar of success and sacrifice them. We throw our marriages on the altar of success and sacrifice our marriage. And we try to, as I said earlier on, we try to turn around and go, well, I'm doing this for you. No, you're not. You're doing it for you. There's a deep childhood issue in your life that you need to be approved. You're not just working hard or a hard worker. You're trying to achieve something that Christ has already achieved for you. You are a success. You're a child of the living God. Nothing can make you more successful. Salvation is not based on you, it's placed on you. That's it, everyone. And what God has given you is the gift of your spouse, that you could get all your love and affection and your creativity. And here's the truth. If we're putting more time into planning our businesses and planning for our staff and planning for our church than we are planning for our marriage, something is out of sync. And sometimes we spend more time in work and more time in the gym or more time in whatever, fixing up that car that you love so much, because we're hiding from the real issue and from the thing that God has really called us to. So I would say, graciously, we need to talk about it. We need not to be defensive. And if your spouse is coming to you and going, I feel that this has become more important, you can't just dismiss that. You can't do that. It's not fair just to go around, I can't believe that you're saying that. I'm working so hard or whatever. Oh, you got to go, there must be something here that they're talking to me like this. Now, there's a season, and if when it comes to taxes, and that's part of your life and your job and finances or whatever, there's end of year or there's end of quarter. Occasionally there's seasons, but sometimes seasons become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And just, you need to watch that really carefully.
Speaking of finances, should finances be number 6 as you get older? How do you balance saving for retirement, but also using money to travel and make memories? And so any wisdom for just trying to kind of, walk that balance that you guys would have?
And maybe dive back into what you said about the motivational piece. What is it that's causing me to behave in this way? And if it's an issue to one person, it should be an issue to both people in a marriage. So one raising an issue doesn't mean to say they're right or they're wrong. It becomes our issue. And trying to dive, whether it's the Enneagram, which is great for the motivation piece. It's not just how do you behave, but why do you behave this way? Trying to dig a little bit deeper. And maybe that relates to finances as well, actually. Yeah. Why do you want to spend what you want to spend? It's not just there's more up the river than coming down the river, and just trying to just go a little bit deeper, a little bit wider. Why is it that you spend what you spend? So I'm not sure, Andrew, in terms of allocation of finances.
Yeah, for us, it's never been my money or Isabel's money. It's never been that. It's our money. It's our life. It's not like, well, the boys are my boys and the girl's her girl. We don't divide the children. It's so fine. I always say to every couple from the beginning is that when you're entering in a marriage, it's one bank account. Both people have access to the bank account and they know what's going on and they're accountable in that. You don't spend what you want, you spend what we agree on. And I would say as well, husbands, be wildly generous. I'm speaking as a husband. Be wildly generous with your wife. Wildly generous. But everybody, we got to be realistic. But there should be no separate accounts. This is my account, this is your account, or something like this. Or I'm getting this money from my parents, whatever. Break all of that stuff. Cut the ties. Create one house. They become one flesh. One flesh. You join together in absolutely everything. So it's really important that you have the same priorities. Yes, finances need to be in there, but you set the same financial goals. There needs to be agreement on it, because you both have financial sort of like baggage that you're bringing in, for how your parents handled what they spent at Christmas and what you spent at Christmas, and what Christmas looked like and whatever. You gotta talk all of that through, and it can be contentious. And it's not it can be a little bit difficult, but absolute openness with finances and clarity on financial goals.
The word that we've used before is we want to have good balance.
Yeah.
So we want to be wise. We want to be saving for the future and saving for emergencies and saving for retirement. But we also need to, take those trips and live now. Yeah. It's easy to kind of be in those extremes, right? But it's been our goal to be in the middle there and just be balanced and be wise there. Couples that how do you navigate different sex drives when one wants more sex than the other?
Do you want to start?
Carrie.
Carrie.
I'm busy scrolling.
I think it's respect again.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's good.
hear each other out and what would make you the most fulfilled today and tomorrow and next week and next month, and look after each other. Like, literally look after each other. And, some monthly rhythms, some illness seasons, some childbearing season will change the way you make love. They will. But it doesn't mean to say you cannot make love in those moments. There's many different ways of looking after each other and pleasuring each other, and those are worth exploring rather than just saying an absolute no or a blank yes always at all times anywhere. I think there's a way to be hearing each other that is respectful of each other and still engaging for each other.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I married a French woman. Ooh la la. I mean, what I would really say, Isabel said so brilliantly there, it is about respect. It really is about, and it's about expectations. And this is why you need to talk about sex. You need to talk about you need to talk about everything and talk about it regularly, because life changes, your finance changes. So, we talked about finances last year, but there's been a recession. You need to talk about it again. We talked about sex last year, but you've had twins. You need to talk about it again. You need to talk about sex and what sex drive is. And sometimes, sir, your sex drive can be so intimidating. It's putting her into reverse. She's lost all her drive because you're just so out of control almost in some ways. So I would say it's having the conversation. What are you looking for in sex? And I think so often, sir, what you're looking for is not just sexual fulfillment. You're looking for some level of, validation in life. And that validation that you're looking for is not always being a sexual prima donna or something like that. It's you got to find it somewhere else. Now, you can't just find it all in something else. Sex is really important, but you can't put that full burden on your wife. You can't do that. So conversations are so important. And I said it earlier on, and I'm not being crass. Quickies still count. Quickies still count.
How do you heal a marriage after sexual betrayal?
Wow.
And so couples walking through that, any wisdom that you guys would give as far as you've sat with people, you've pastored people, encouraged people, counseled, any wisdom that you would give to someone who's walking? How do you kind of forgive, heal, move on after navigating sexual betrayal? Any wisdom you would give to this couple?
Yeah, there's an emotional piece, but there's also a physical piece to that women might sense even more acutely than men. And so there is so much exploring and explaining that needs to be done that can seem daunting. And sometimes possibly men will shy away from addressing what's been causing it, in case it would bring the marriage to an end. But I've also seen women in marriage knowing something is going on and trying to ignore it so that it would not come to an end. And so it's trying to find that place where we possibly need to bring experts, outsiders, trusted, godly advisors in, where truth can be presented, but then a path towards restoration can also come along. And it does not happen overnight. So it's not an easy journey, but it's the best journey you can engage on. I'm going to say it again. Ugly truth is better than a pretty lie. For the sake of the person that you committed your life to, and then for the sake of your children, in that order. Please, please, please. Do not hide what's going on. Do not ignore what's going on. Go after it. Find the right people. And that's just the human-to-human piece. And then there's a God component that we can't even imagine. My grandparents spent a lifetime resenting each other. And the minute they found Jesus, actually found fresh love, new forgiveness, and had the best last decade of their lives.
Wow.
that they never could have dreamt of outside of Jesus. And so for me as a 5-year-old watching my mom and dad become Christians, I remember standing beside the baptismal tank, but then also remember 8 years old standing at the side of my grandmother. I know my granddad got baptized, but I remember my grandma getting baptized, and the change, their countenance, their love for one another, their love for people, nothing, all those decades could do what Jesus did do in those latter years. So it's never, ever too late either.
Can I just say first, I'm just so sorry for anyone that's been through that. It's just unbelievable, the pain, the agony. I thank God that we've never been through that. But Isabel will tell you when, and sadly this happens too often even in the ministry, of where I will hear of a friend, a colleague, or someone that has committed adultery, or adultery was committed on them, and it makes me physically sick. Isabel will tell you, I'm walking around all day cuddling her and chasing her, and just because it moves me so much. But to have been, betrayed. I often say, you stood at the front of a church and you went, I do, and he said, I do, but one of you didn't. And that's heartbreaking. And theologically, not everyone has to agree with me. That sexual trespass for me is a grounds for divorce, but it's also a grounds for grace. And grace is so hard. And divorce doesn't fix everything. Doesn't fix everything. Again, if you're here tonight and your crowd decide there's going to be divorced people, my heart goes out to you, because you know the pain. You know the pain of divorce. You understand it. It's not like we got 72% of people down in Orange County running around rejoicing at all the divorce. The agony that it has caused and continues to cause, and not just on the kids, on the couple as well. And so I want to say, I'm so sorry that you've been through this, and you're justified to do so many things except murder. Except murder, okay, although it does seem like a good option sometimes, but don't do it, please. But time doesn't just heal. Eternity heals. But time doesn't just heal. Time's tough. And if you make the choice to show grace, it's not just a one-off moment. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. But by the grace of God, we've seen couples recover. I mean, unbelievable recovery.
And they've done the work, right, Andrew?
Oh, they've had to do the work.
You do the work. You recognize what it is. Some people have sex addictions. They have to face that.
Yeah.
Some women are living with sex addicts. They have to face that. There are support groups, for both sides. And until you face what it is that is causing you to behave the way you do, you will probably, most likely, repeat the same patterns of behavior. So digging deep and doing the work is an absolute must. Forgiving and moving on doesn't always fix things. Yeah, doing the work does.
And I would say this too, there is hope.
Yeah.
We all know people who have walked through that incredible difficulty and have put in that hard work, went through that really tough truth and honest truth, and then they are really walking miracles today.
Right.
And so there is hope. God is that big, and He can do mighty things. Okay, a little bit of a lightning round here. Okay, you ready? So we're gonna you got just kind of like 5 seconds. So we'll get a few more questions here before we go into a time of prayer. When is a good time to have kids? Money, home, ready, not ready? When is ready? When is a good time to have kids? A young couple, like when should you have kids?
We were always told when we were younger is get your books, which is like get your education, get your bride, then get your bricks, get a home, and then have your babies.
There you go.
That's what we were always taught. Just try and do it in that order. Make sure get your education done in some way, although it can take longer, especially in medical school or something like that, but try and do it that way. But you will never have enough money for kids. Is that true? So don't think we're saving to have children. Well, you know what? You're going to be like Abraham and Sarah. You're going to be in your 90s.
Wisdom for helping navigate a video game addiction.
Video game addiction.
So, video game addiction that is impacting the marriage. Video game addiction.
I might dig into the why again. Go to the why. There's millions of reasons why a video game may be so attractive. It could be that it is the only moment you can stop thinking about the stuff that's troubling you, causing you angst, stress, relational difficulties. That's in one moment you can disconnect, because if you're not super engaged in something, then your mind's wandering. It could be that you are so bored, so disinterested. So there's so many reasons, and I would just encourage you to dig into the why so you can address and start working on the how.
Well, you know what I'm going to say? If you're playing the Call of Duty all night, pull the plug out, join the Marines, and go and do the real thing, my friend, yes? Get off to Syria and do something for your country. Get it out of your system and come home.
Okay, wisdom for empty nesters. Wisdom for empty nesters.
Yes.
What was your first year of empty nest like?
Empty
Crazy.
Yeah, but life's still busy. You know, kids go. It's not like we're going, oh, what are we going to do now? I'm going to start playing video games. No, it wasn't like that. Seriously, we always did get good time together, but it was like fun where we didn't have to cook for the children as much. Yeah. We could go out to more restaurants. We can travel way easier, not thinking about, although the kids got older and you could leave them and that, but it was like you could lock the front door. There was no worries at all. And it never came to us as this, oh my goodness, we've lost our last child. When it came to our last child, it was like, when are you going? It wasn't, oh, I'm so sad to see them, because we keep seeing them so much.
Yeah.
And trust me, your kids can leave, but they will always be joined by the wallet. They will always be joined by the wallet. Somehow financially, they make their way home again. But the truth is, we never dreaded it. We enjoy each other's company. We enjoy doing stuff like this. For me, it's been great. Hopefully you can say the same.
Oh, yeah.
What does a prayer for or with your spouse look like? So what does it look like for you guys?
Prayer?
Praying with or for your spouse?
Prayer? There's some amazing resources out there, which I actually really enjoy. Probably you not so much. There's one lady in our church, and her and her husband have been married for 5 decades. And she asks him every single week, how can I serve you and how can I pray for you?
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I would be really scared to ask one, never mind both of those questions. Go, Karen. But I go, wow, that's beautiful. So sometimes I think I presume this is what Andrew is going through, or this is what he needs, and God, maybe you should help him or could help him, and maybe asking that question of each other is not a bad thing.
Yeah, but Isabel journals. You know, I've never bought a journal in my life. I'm not going to write down my feelings and what I felt or whatever. I got coffee and a Bible app. That's what I got. And my coffee stays warm. One of those Ember mugs. Anyone got the Ember mugs? They are a gift from God. They keep your coffee warm for nearly an hour. So that's part of my devotions. And so we do devotions different, but we do get together and we do pray. But mainly it's separate. We got our own gig going on with God, and then we bring it together.
Good. Carrie, any questions you see there?
Well, there was one about power. So in a marriage, different people have different roles, and that might look different from marriage to marriage a little bit. But what if one of the spouses is like, got a big ego, and, you know, really there's like a power struggle between spouses?
Well, I think I should answer this.
Go for it, darling.
Obviously, it's all over to you.
Yeah, defining who does what. Yeah, who likes to do what, how we come to decisions, how decisions made. That's huge. That's huge. And a lot of the conflict actually comes from that. That very question is an amazing question. Would it stem from the patterns, the models that you've had? Either you're going to replicate exactly or want to replicate exactly what you've seen because it was successful, or you're going to want to do the exact opposite of what you observed because it was not successful in your own eyes. And might you become super dogmatic about that for one reason or the other? I think that's worth exploring for sure. We come to conclusions together. Mm-hmm. I don't think we make any big decisions separate from each other. Sometimes we'll share what our feelings or our thoughts are, and then sometimes we'll pause those fire walls. Is that what you call them? You know, you put those in place and then you come back to it. We see God. Amazing what God tells you when you're open to hearing Him. And then we come back together. And sometimes it takes a while to make that decision, for it to be a godly decision. But I want to say every time there's been a big moment in our lives, we heard from God together. Mm-hmm. And so one person saying, because I say so, because I know better, I don't think that is God's best way.
Yes.
Let me speak to the guys here for a moment. Guys, the only control that we're mandated to have in Scripture is self-control. That's the only control we should have in life, is self-control. And there's too many men who are trying to be the head of their house. You need to be the heart of your house. Mm-hmm. It's not about power in the house. It's about presence. That's what your kids need, and that's what your wife needs. And not some woosy, flory guy, you know. I don't mean that. You can still be a man, but a Jesus man. Mm-hmm. I mean, women were getting their kids and throwing them at Jesus because there was something so beautiful about him. We want you to touch our kids and bless our children. But he was a carpenter. He was 33 years old. He was lean and he was mean. He was on a Mediterranean diet. He walked hundreds of miles every year. I mean, Jesus was a stud. I really mean that, like physically. Like, Jesus was strong, but yet he was gentle and he was kind. And to come into your house and try to be the boss, that's not Christ. It is be the greatest servant in your home. If you ever have to go, I'm the head of this house, you've lost. You've seriously lost. I got to lay it down. Well, no, you didn't serve well enough. Because when you serve and your love leads the way, guess what? Everyone will line up and ask, where are we going? Because that's the type of man and father that I want to follow in my life. I don't know what sort of male figures you've had in your life, what your father was to you, what your grandfather was like to you, but it needs to go back way further. It's, you have a father and his name is God, and he laid down his life for us. Amen. And he could have like just sent edicts from heaven, sat on the throne and shouted at us and got us all cowering and fearing. No, he came down, he served us, and he gave literally every single thing for us. So I talk about and that what does a father do? And it comes as a husband as well, but I call it the 3 A's of fathering. And the first one is authority, and a lot of guys go, yeah, I love authority. Yeah, I love her. But what happens is that we let sometimes mom do an awful lot of the disciplining while we sort of stand back in the background like I'm the big boss. But they're doing the disciplining all day long. Actually, kids need a dad that can graciously say no. Kids used to come to me, can I ask you a question? I went, you can ask me any question that you want as long as you understand that no might be an option. Ask me anything you want. But actually, godly authority, kind authority is something that brings stability into a Christian home. But the next one is as well, a father brings affection. If you have authority without affection, you're out of control. It's totally imbalanced. The only way to have true authority is to have affection. And a father is someone that turns around and with a wife as well, shows affection, and affection that's not just there to get sex. Oh, give me a cuddle. Ooh, that's great. Just a hug for a hug, nothing for else. Like, not lift her up, bring her upstairs. No. Just pure affection, okay? So authority matched with affection. My children, I still hug them. My son is 28 years old. I have to chase him, tackle him, get him down, but he still gets a hug. They know what affection is. They know what affection is. But the last one is, and I need to stop here, is atmosphere. A father provides atmosphere. Not solely, it's not just a dad's job, but it's so much of what I try to do in the home is going, I'm the one that sets the music, not I'm the DJ in this house. I'm thinking ahead all the time. Kids are coming over tonight. We're going to get some music on. What food will we get in? I'm trying to set up the party. That's what I do. Set up the atmosphere of the home, but of the marriage as well. If I know that Isabel's had a really crazy day, I'm trying to think, what food can I buy, prepare, make? What music can I put on? What can I have ready for her? Setting the atmosphere of the home as well. So you're not the boss, you're the servant.
Can you express your appreciation to Andrew and Isabel McCourt?
Thank you guys. Thank you.
For coming all the way from California. We love you guys so much. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. We want to take about the next 3 to 5 minutes right now and give just couples the chance to pray together. And so we're going to have just a few prayer prompts up on the screen right now. And just want to give you a moment to turn to one another. And it can be a moment of just encouragement, praying together over, expressing gratitude to God for the gift of your spouse, that you'd be the spouse that God wants you to be. Pray protection and covering over your family. So can we just take a moment, just turn to one another right now and just have just a moment of prayer together as we kind of just seal what God has done here tonight.